Another interesting thing about texting is that the omission of certain punctuation elements or certain words is actually what is doing sort of the pragmatic work. And that's interesting from a grammatical perspective because, those things that aren't there but are somehow still present because they're not there, it's marked.
Grammatical change, actually, there's one thing that kind of has been worked on, which is the proliferation of exclamation points, that often if you don't use an exclamation point, it's abrupt. And you have to often use more than one. That's becoming kind of a grammar. So subtractive grammar is that if you don't use the exclamation point, you're sniffing a little bit. Yeah, that's definitely there and unconsciously internalized, I presume. Although I can tell passively that often the lack of the exclamation point would look a little glum. Yeah, so you learn gradually to use an exclamation point that you never would in a written composition. It wouldn't be something like Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. Bing! That's unthinkable, but in texting you have to use these things all the time.
Yeah, and it's just really, that's interesting because what that exclamation point adds to the, discourse it's not complete, like you can't put your fingers around it exactly, like is it enthusiasm, is it a social, like hey, I'm being nice, like we're being nice to each other.
It's politeness.
It's politeness.
It's showing that everything's okay. It's indicating a basic kind of chirpiness, essentially. And you do that as part of interacting with people in general. There has to be a baseline of its okayness. You do that with your face and intonation in real life. In texting, you do that with that recruitment of the exclamation point, which means that if you actually do want to exclaim something, then you have to use 2 or 3.
Right.
So it ends up being a very different use of the original materials.